And we're live. Good morning. It's Friday again. UmbraCoffee again. And Marcin's away, so I'm doing what the hell I want. And this week, I'm joined by the wonderful Emma and Seb from Umbraco HQ. Hey,
hello. Hey.
It was not that long ago we had you on, Seb, before, but I've not seen Emma in a while. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. I've been back and forth to Denmark, which has been a giggle.
Indeed.
Traveling in these times has been fun. But yeah, all good. It's nice to see you, Callum. It's been ages.
It has been a long, long time, yeah. And a busy week in Umbraco. I've honestly struggled keeping up with everything this week, and I'm breaking convention. Every link that we're going to talk about today, and a hell of a lot more, is down below already. So we would normally post them afterwards, but we've put all of the releases down there. There's just way too many to even talk about. I think there was 25 odd releases announced this week. So go check those out. Loads of new things for V9 and loads of new things for V8 too, which is great to see. But yeah, let's dive into some news. What's happened this week? There's clearly one big thing that's happened. Nothing. Yeah, absolutely nothing's happened. The one big thing, of course, is that we have finally got Umbraco V9, which is really, really exciting. This has obviously been anticipated for a long, long time, worked on for a long time. I saw Carole shared pictures of the retreat from 3 years back, maybe, because of COVID, where the planning on this all started. And it's
2018, I think.
Yeah, a big journey to this point. So now Umbraco runs on .NET 5, and the feedback, I don't know, you obviously see a lot more of it than we do, but the feedback seems overwhelmingly positive at the minute.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I think, sorry, Seb, talking over you.
Oh, it's all right.
Bad colleague. But it seems overwhelmingly positive, yeah. There's been lots of buzz in a number of areas, and one of the things I've really, really enjoyed is seeing names that I've never seen before on the Umbraco Twitter hashtag and stuff. Just being like, oh, I'm going to have a play with this. This looks fun.
Definitely, and some Microsofty peeps as well, like not people that we've seen around the Umbraco sphere before, but people that are kind of known in the Microsoft world, which is great. It's clearly how it was intended to be, isn't it? That
known and confused by a bunny is like, I think that's been a theme.
Yeah.
What are you
people are going to slowly get exposed to all of that craziness, all the craziness that's going on in the Umbraco community. So yeah, Umbraco 9 is out. That's a huge milestone. And of course, there was a big live stream party. You were at HQ, Emma and Seb as well. Big high five you up to Bjarke and the development team and everything that's gone into that, because there's a huge effort from across HQ in the community, isn't there? Let's talk about the video, Emma. It was great to see you hosting this live stream, a whole nearly 2 hours of great content, launching Umbraco 9, usual madness, confetti, rabbits, etc. But yeah, I enjoyed Bjarke and the D team kind of taking us through all the new features and what's changed, including a double dose of Nikolais. We had
two Nikolais. Like, what other companies have got two? I don't answer that. I'm quite happy.
Exactly. Lots of Nikolais. And yeah, it was a really good, detailed, highly informative set of talks there, including some from the community. So we had, of course, Emma Garland jumping in there. We had Carole, she jumped on to talk about, she answered some questions and she talked about the Visual Studio setup. Paul Seal had a little chat about packages. We had Dennis Adolfi talking about
getting started, inspiration.
Getting started, that was it. It was 3 days ago. Yeah, and then here's the thing I'm most impressed with, Emma, that you and Rune bravely attempted to read the name of every single contributor to V9, all 121 contributors, which is very impressive. And there's got to be someone's got to clip this up or something, because there was bits where you could barely even hear what you were saying, and you were trying to pronounce some names that weren't necessarily.
Some were just like GitHub usernames as well. Seb actually put together a huge kind of document of people and what they actually might be called. I love that we're still just calling Chad. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we know more about Chad now, but we're just like, Chad, Chad. And then others, we miss. One of the things that I'm absolutely heartbroken we miss is all the package developers like yourself, Callum, who have gotten packages ready for V9. And that's a whole avenue of people we missed out.
Well, why don't you thank the people that created .NET and the people that keep GitHub running? I don't know. You can. It's endless. You can thank everyone.
But one of the efforts we've really noticed is the package developers. Like, they've been on it. I like to think they've been on it because we've been on it. It's been like a really nice environment to be moving together. And Bjarke has just led the team so wonderfully to like this very definite goal. There's been so much planning, and I've seen behind the scenes too, so much planning, and it's paid off because we've always known what was going to happen. We've always known what we were aiming for, and then the people that are contributing, they can get involved too because they know. So
it's a stark contrast from 2.5 years ago, where on a Tuesday in February, a Zoom link was put on Twitter like, "Hey, come and join us. We're launching V8 now." And the community went, "What?" Whereas now, like, very few packages were ready for V8 at that time. We've launched with 30 plus, maybe
45 plus,
45 packages, which is cool. And I struggle to keep up. Last night I produced the list of all the updates. Again, they're down below right now. Go check them out. Loads of great packages already there for V9. And I think Paul said in his video as part of the launch party that there's not really a package that he wouldn't like install by default that's not ready for V9. So you've got USync there already. Paul's released a new starter kit. There's some great example sites already out there, and people producing fantastic documentation and articles as well. So I know we've spoken before about Dennis Adolfi's demo site, which is a fantastic example of how to do things in V9. So the community is really ready with this, and clearly very, very excited.
The involvement, and people have been super supportive and trying to pick it up, and also learning to our not surprise, but we were very happy that they learned that it wasn't that hard. So most of the code that they already had ported over quite nicely, and some developers obviously have had to think about multi-targeting for V8 and V9. And even that they got used to doing, and it also turned out not to be too much work in the end there. So super impressed by all the people who have already launched packages, and we're very happy with that. And that also helps, of course, adoption of V9 in the early days as well. Yeah.
Massively. We've had some really interesting feedback from package developers too around when we're shipping betas, and trying to build for a moving target, I think, was quite difficult for some who were, had dependencies, and then we would change something. And now we're looking at ways to kind of work more closely with package developers so that we know what it is they're using before we make any changes. It's like so symbiotic. It's lovely. It's it's a very community-driven release, and it will inform the way we progress.
That's great. I mean, it fills me with confidence for what's to come. There was obviously a lot of dread going into this that it was going to be another release that shan't be named or anything, but it's been handled so well and smoothly.
We were so happy with all the involvement as well. So we already also announced about 1,300 community contributions, and that was everything that's been going on GitHub. That was only what has been going on GitHub on the CMS and the docs tracker. So we didn't, as I said, as Emma said, we didn't count the package developers and all the other people who might have tweeted at us and stuff. All of those inputs have been super great, but this is the only ones that we could actually count.
That's fantastic. It's a huge number. That's the kind of level of contributions you get over like Hacktoberfest and things, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'll talk about it in a second because that's coming up. But yeah, it's a true brilliant community effort. So I think a high five you're up to everyone, but especially HQ. I think it shows how HQ's grown up a bit as well compared to a few years back. We've got, I think I've said before, I think Philip's a fantastic ambassador for the CMS, and he's kind of championed as well process, which is great. And Bjarke's obviously hugely talented. So yeah, the great effort.
As well.
Yeah.
And Kim.
Shout out to Philip is a good call, actually, because Philip is the lord of process, and you do feel in safe hands with him having some oversight.
Very good. Well, of course, we said there's still was it 613% crazy? Is that what it's supposed to be? Still a little bit of that, and we had people celebrating the V9 launch in their own way. Of course, Emma, you were at HQ, and so was the bunny. People were calling for the entire time. As soon as we saw a cake and a bunny with an axe, it was the bunny has to cut cake with an axe, and they finally did, which is awesome. Yeah,
I ate cake from an axe. That's the off an axe.
Is it a clean axe?
It doesn't matter, does it? It's not like there's any diseases going around.
Cake is cake, right?
Cake is cake.
So yeah, there was a nice big party at HQ. Of course, there's some more happy faces here. Watching the live stream from, is this a separate building? Is this the building?
We've kind of outgrown our current HQ, so we have an HQ2, which is across the street from original, and we're using some rooms from a company called House of Code there.
Ah, yes, and you can see you there hiding right at the back, Seb, and a lot of new faces in there too, which is awesome to see. So,
absolutely.
And of course, Lee Kelleher shared this picture of the Umbraco Bristol meetup, their first in-person meetup since about 2 years ago. And I think one of the only meetups they've done since COVID's actually been going on. But they celebrated. They had a nice unicorn cake. Matt Brailsford had a nice, interesting way of celebrating. I
loved these.
It looked brilliant, and he was, right on it. The launch happened at 1:30 p.m. UK time, 2:30 Denmark, and within that's 17 minutes. Matt was out there with memes, and he was pumping out a meme every 2-3 minutes. So yeah, I just thought we'd just share them, and I think Cornet as well got involved at one point too. This one's a favorite of mine.
Classics.
So true.
They are. They are. I think I actually I think I've missed one from this list, and I've missed one. Oh no. So really like one of my favorite ones, I'll find it now, was the one that Matt shared with this one here. This is truly, truly brilliant because it's so true. And you just know that there's already people out there, I saw on Twitter, scrambling around saying, how do I migrate from V7? Is that possible? V7 is still very much alive and kicking for some, but I'm sure there's some V5 sites out there running as well, even older. Which is good fun. And from Cornet after about a few hours, but very, very good. Good job there, team. Alrighty. We're going to do something a bit interesting. Like I say, March is not here. Going to break the rules. First, so earlier this week, I think just before the V9 release, Morten released some information about what's happening to Cloud, what's changing on Cloud. And I've been quite vocal about Cloud over the years, how it's fine, but you kind of have to work the way it wants you to. And yeah, maybe you're better off using Azure in certain cases, and that's fine. Do that. And I've also said everything that's been outlined by Morten as coming for Cloud V Next sounds awesome and is set to shake all of that up. And then on Monday, he completely made my mind up for me. So he shared this blog post about what's happening to Umbraco 9 on Cloud. And I think this pretty much addresses most of the criticisms with at least the workflow. And that's super awesome. So, and by the way, this is live now. You can go to try.umbraco.com and get started with a trial of Umbraco Cloud on V9 and get this running. But it's just an Umbraco project now. It's not got really anything special in it. So this highlights quite nicely the structure. When you download your Cloud repo, everything's in one repo, including your code now, and you can actually code in the project and write everything that you need to do. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when you do a deployment now, you build as well for us.
It does the build for you. You can even add a solution, an extra project for your custom code if you want to. You don't have to. You can just drop C# files in here and put your own folder structure in here in the CS proj. And then once you push to cloud, it will start building all the code and deploy just as you would expect it to do.
That is,
we've always wanted it to do.
that is awesome. And you may not know this, but I noticed that the repo that it ships with has got some Docker configuration files in there. Is it a safe assumption that actually what's being deployed is now a Docker container?
I actually have no idea.
Well, someone in the chat, I'd love to know, because that's the only way I could have thought that you were doing the build, that actually the build just happens inside the Docker container and you're just shipping a Docker container around. So if someone in the chat knows, please give me an answer.
I can ping Morten a message.
Yes, please. This is really cool. So we can now have our own structure. We can use just kind of any old Umbraco, just how we do it any other way. So .NET New, Umbraco, and you can get up and running. The Cloud Repo includes a couple of special configuration files, but nothing really beyond that. And it's all good to go. And it's all running on Azure and it's on web apps. So this to me, I need to try it out, but it feels like the kind of ultimate setup for an Umbraco site. So that's really, really awesome to see.
I had the best time yesterday when I finally got some time to look at my blog again. I needed to update it from preview, whatever it was, to final. And I did that. And it changed to one file, the CS proj file. There was 4 lines changed and everything just worked. I pushed it to cloud, everything just worked. And that was just like, that was a big win. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it is.
Exactly.
What we wanted it to be.
And so the upgrades are literally just doing an update on the CS proj files now, not dropping DLLs into the bin folder and having to control that and source. That's awesome. That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And of course, our friendly developer avocado, Warren, he released another Hack Make Do video where he's shown how to get up and running with Umbraco Cloud on and V9, which is really cool. High five, you're up there, Warren. Right, I promised we'd do something different, and we're going to. So this whole new world, Umbraco 9, brings with it loads of new options. We've got cross-platform support, although is that not official? Is that it should work?
We keep saying it's cross-platform, but and it should work, but it's not official yet. We're still not quite sure if there's going to be casing issues somewhere, and we're trying to figure that out. But I think soon enough, and hopefully by V10, we can guarantee it will work on Linux and Mac. And
so in theory. In theory, the .NET runtime, .NET 5, is cross-platform. It will run on Windows, Linux, Mac, and Umbraco runs on that too. So it shouldn't be a problem. It's just any potentially dependencies or your code that has slight quirks in it that would have worked on Windows but don't work cross-platform. So in theory, that gives us loads of options there. We've talked about Docker just a second ago. Like we can now use Docker because we can run Umbraco on Linux, which is cool. And with that also comes a whole new range of tooling. So people are probably familiar with Visual Studio and using that to work with Umbraco. But there's so many more options now, right? I know, Seb, you're a big fan of Rider, which I'm not a fan of, but I know you are. And I'm a big fan of VS Code. I love VS Code. It's my go-to editor when I don't need to compile something at the minute. But am I right in saying that's not the case now? I can do all of my Umbraco 9 work with any of those tools. Very, very cool. So here's what we're going to do. Bit risky, but it's Friday. Got to live a little. So the 3 of us are going to try and get Umbraco set up 3 different ways, 3 different tools, 3 different tech stacks. Seb, name your tech stack.
I am on Ubuntu and I'm using Rider and a bit of terminal, just, as you do. Cool.
So Ubuntu and Rider with the terminal. That's cool. And you're running that on a laptop that's sitting next to you, but we're going to be able to see the screen there. Emma, what are you going to do?
I am on a borrowed MacBook that is not at all mine, and I am clumsily set up on VS Code, just using terminal and VS Code. Yeah, and that's it.
That's really cool. And of course, there's other options for Windows, Linux, and Mac. You can use VS Code on Linux even. You can use Visual Studio Mac also to run it. I know that Anthony Dangs tweeted he got it up and running on a Mac with VS for a Mac, so that's all cool. I'm going to go slightly, I'm going to play a wild card, and I'm going to set up a V9 Umbraco Cloud site, and I'm going to try and use that in a code space, or at least work with it in a code space. So the idea of this is that we can maybe see slight differences in how you would work with Umbraco depending on the platform you're using, but also the similarities. The process ultimately is pretty much the same thing regardless of the platform you use. So I'm just going to throw it out there. Who wants to share their screen first, and we'll get going.
I can go.
Go on then.
That should be shared now. Cool. So, yep, I had everything prepared on my regular virtual machine, and then my virtual machine died this morning. So I am now remoted into my Ubuntu machine, and so it looks a little bit dodgy, but it's a lot better on the real screen. So as we do for all other things as well, we can just write .NET New Umbraco with a name. That will do exactly the same thing in all platforms, and it will be the same process. Obviously, for non-Windows machines, we need something for SQL, and that's SQL Server, which I've installed a Docker image for. I don't know. I am not an expert in any of this, so I literally just followed what Microsoft gave me on their website. The slight disadvantage on Linux, of course, is that I don't have a visual. Maybe it exists, but I don't have a visual SQL Studio, SQL Management Studio. So you have to go in the command line and create a new database when you do this.
If you're using VS Code, you can install Data Studio, and that will let you interact with databases as well. So you can do that on Linux. There's other tooling.
That's great. Yeah, and then I've prepared this one. So I've opened up my CSParch file in JetBrains Rider. It looks the same on Windows as it does on Linux. This is just a CSParch file. There's no solution here, and we can run that as we can expect from the play button, and I will start our site with a browser, and we can prove that we are actually on Umbraco 9 when it loads.
So whilst the UI here is a little bit different, the process is you've ran .NET New Umbraco, it's installed Umbraco. Brilliant. It's installed Umbraco, and now you just press F5 and you're booted in, much like you would in Visual Studio anyway, but you're running on a Mac with Rider.
Exactly.
Very cool.
I'm having keyboard problems again, but you'll trust me that I can I can log into this at some point. And then what we can do is go back to Rider. We can stop it, and we can start making code. So we can add a class. iComposer. We can inherit it from iComposer and do all the things, and do something silly, put a breakpoint in there, hit the play button or F5 again, and it should start hitting my breakpoint.
And so this is one of the first differences we've seen now with V8 versus V9. So the idea of an iUser composer isn't a thing anymore, right? It's now just iComposer. And because of the way that .NET and the .NET pipeline works, Startup CS basically is your boot pipeline, and here Umbraco just hooks into that and makes sure that that we can run custom code via this iComposer pattern, which is cool.
I didn't hit my breakpoint here, so something is wrong, but I don't know what.
Right.
But trust me, it works.
Very nice.
But this is this. I just wanted to show that this is just a CSproj file, so you don't need an extra class library if you're not planning on redistributing anything in that class library. You can just start writing code in your actual project, and of course you would put this in folders and stuff.
Doesn't even have a solution file. It's just the CSproj.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
So it just looks like this on disk. So this is test v9 final. So it's just this CSproj file and the rest of the files. Yep.
Very, very cool.
Very nice.
Very nice. Emma, do you want to go now? Because
yep, I'm more than happy to. Even things like sharing a screen on this is new for me. So, and I've just got the one that's not even connected to anything. So if we see infinite people, apologies. Right, so share my screen. There we go. Okay, are we in?
Yep.
Lovely. Okay, so getting started on a Mac, I tweeted earlier like, oh my goodness, I was up and running in less than 15 minutes, but that was characteristically cocky of me because I wasn't. But getting to the point of the database install was really lovely and quick. So where shall I start? I used Warren's video, a huge shout out to Warren, and then Warren's input. Pulled down Visual Studio Code for Mac, and then installed the C# extension immediately so that we had that, and that's this one. I used the built-in terminal, which is Bash. That's not my name because this is not my laptop. To install the, well, first I used the built-in terminal to get the NuGet, and I did that all from the documentation. There was nothing new. I just went step by step through this bit of documentation. I had to install the latest .NET SDK. As I said in the tweet, this laptop has never been used to write any code. It's like a fancy, lovely machine for entertainment mostly, and a little bit of video editing or podcast editing. That was really easy. I got that sorted pretty quickly. From the command line, got Umbraco running, .NET build, and I was here, or I was at the install screen, and I was like, yay, I'm done. But then I realized that we needed a database because we're on a Mac, so we can't use the, sorry if this is jumping around, we can't use the
SQL CE.
Yeah, so we couldn't use this. So instead I installed the Docker desktop for Mac. It's an old Mac, so I was able to use this, but newer Macs, you need the different version. Basically just pulled down the image using the Docker pull and ran this. It fell over. Bash doesn't like this exclamation point. I learned that after, just trying again. Before I read, you can see that I just didn't read the error message, which is classic for me. So I changed my strong password. Then in order to have a database up and running, I installed, Callum, you mentioned it actually, as your data studio, and created one here, my Umbraco project.
Nice.
And then when I got to the install screen, I just put in the username and password. .NET run, .NET build, .NET run. No, I'd already done that, so I was just here. And this is me on Umbraco 9.
Wow. So you've gone all out there, Emma. You've not just done getting Umbraco 9 up and running. You've also installed Docker for the first time on a Mac. Yes. You set up a database and you've connected to it, got yourself up and running in 15 minutes or thereabouts.
It was more than 15 in the end, and that's why I'm glad I didn't do it live, because I had gotten most of the way and I just thought, oh, I'm done. But you can see it's all here. Like it's, I mean, it's lovely, and the CSproj file, and this happens automatically.
So this looks pretty much identical to what Seb just showed us, of course, where where you've got the same file structure. You don't have a you don't have a solution file. You've just got a CS proj, and you've got the code that Umbraco bootstraps, but that's about it. And everything else, you just do .NET install for packages, and you're away.
Yeah, and it really is lovely and quick. Now that I have the .NET SDK installed and the Docker desktop, etc., it's all. I don't want to use the word simple, but it's nice to do. It's just a matter of following steps, and I really can't stress how helpful Warren's video was. And I messaged him this morning saying, have you ever set this up? I'm just going to stop sharing because I'm talking now. Have I stopped sharing?
Yeah.
All right, now I have to find you. One screen. Saying, oh yeah, have you ever set up on a Mac? Quickly Googled and his video popped up and I was like, just ignore my message. I see you have. And I stepped through. But yeah, I could start deving now. Like that's the point.
That is really cool. It's really cool.
And it feels so comfortable as well. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I've seen all of this before. It looks a bit different from Windows, but most of it just feels normal.
Those core concepts are the same.
Was, or if I remembered what copy and paste was on this machine, it would feel really comfortable.
Exactly. And then just to touch on SQL, we had after the launch event on Tuesday, we had a full day workshop with the CMS team to talk about future. Of course, now we're not done, and one of the top priorities for us, of course, is to find an alternative to SQL CE that will work cross-platform as well, and hopefully we'll get that in there soonish.
Yeah, there's I know local DB is an option as well with V9,
but not only on Windows as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really cool. Like you said, kind of relatively simple, surprisingly simple to get up and running. And then I'm going to try something a bit more ambitious. Like I said, I think it would be kind of fun to see if I could get an Umbraco Cloud Repo working in an environment that would be totally alien. We've actually on umbraCoffee before, and I'll make sure there's a link down below, demoed getting Umbraco running on CodeSpace. And for those that don't know, CodeSpaces are these virtual development environments in the cloud provided by GitHub that you can go to a repo, click open in CodeSpace, and it builds like a VM for you effectively that you can then work on in the browser, run the project. It's really, really powerful, really cool. And so I thought, why not? Let's try it with an Umbraco Cloud Repo. So the first thing I did was I jumped over to try.umbraco.com to start up a free trial. And because it takes a few minutes, I've already done this. So it's spun up this umbraCoffee Shy Puppy environment. This is using the latest Umbraco 9 with forms and deploy all installed, ready to go on a free trial. The other thing I've done is I've set up a GitHub repo on my GitHub, just called umbraCoffee, and it's got a README file in there, nothing too fancy. Now, for those that have access to CodeSpaces, if you're paying for it or you were part of the beta, under the Code tab, which is available to everyone on GitHub, you might see a CodeSpaces tab too, with an option to say New CodeSpace. You click that, and in a matter of seconds, it's literally going to spin this up in the cloud for me, ready to go. A side note here is if you install the VS Code extension, you can actually run CodeSpaces locally in VS Code. So you don't need a development environment set up. It just runs everything in the cloud, but you're using your local VS Code, which is cool. So this is pretty familiar, hopefully. Looks just like VS Code. It's got my file in there from the repo. So how do I get started with doing anything with an Umbraco Cloud repo in this case? My repo that I'm opening here could be a fork of the Umbraco Cloud one. In my case, I've just set up a quick, simple one. And we've got a full terminal here that I can run all kinds of commands in, including .NET-V, which should tell me that we've got .NET 5 installed.
Dash version, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
.NET V 5.0.4. And let's just clear the terminal. So I can do a git clone here. And Umbraco Cloud, of course, gives us a Git repository URL. And I can clone that URL. I've got it on copy and paste because I have a super secret and secure username and password in there. This is now going to go and clone my Git repo, and within a couple of seconds it has. So you can see I now have this umbraCoffee's Shy Puppy project and a source folder, and hey, look, that's pretty much everything that we've just seen with Emma and Seb's demo too. We've got a CS proj, no solution file because it wasn't needed. We've got our startup CS, program CS. This is all the stuff Umbraco ships with, and we're ready to go. I can add a new class into here. Let's just say new file. I'll do a composer like you did, Seb. Composer.cs. Maybe because this doesn't have the C# extension. It might not, but composer, and it's an IE composer, and it does something. But
can you add extensions when you're in Codespace?
Yeah, you can. So it's effectively a full VS Code.
Just full VS Code.
Yeah. There's the extensions library just here. So let's have a look. C#. Or is it installed? Oh, it's installed. I don't know what's going on there then. For sake of time, now let's just go .NET build. Now this is actually going to try and build my solution, and it's because I'm not in the right directory.
Oh, so the directory. Okay.
It's changed to this horribly named. It doesn't let, unlike the local terminal, it doesn't let you Shy Puppy /source /Umbraco project. It doesn't let you tab through it.
Double A there, Umbraco.
Cute. Cool. So now I'm in my project root, and I can run .NET build, and hey, look at that! It's actually building my project. This is going to go and do a full restore of the .NET SDKs, the Umbraco NuGet packages, and make sure that we can build. And within hopefully a couple of seconds, this should have built successfully. Now, we were talking about SQL CE a second ago, weren't we? And SQL CE is currently a tight dependency for Umbraco Cloud. If you're running Umbraco Cloud locally, it clones down the production database into your SQL CE using the definition files. So unfortunately, you can't actually, as far as I know, someone please correct me if I'm wrong, you can't run this project in the code space. But what you can do is develop it. You can build and check it's building, and you can commit your files up to the repo, and Umbraco Cloud will take care of the rest in terms of deploying and doing what it needs to do. Which is
2 things there. I think if Umbraco Cloud sees that you have local DB running, it will choose local DB instead of SQL CE, and it will just make a new database for you. And I think, and I can't remember how, but I think Warren made it possible to spin up a SQL server on Codespace as well, so you could actually do everything. And I'm not sure how that would work.
Yeah, I think through some Docker file magic, you can do that as well. So I don't know if it gives me IntelliSense here. Probably not.
Doesn't look like it.
So that'll be why it didn't build, because my file didn't like my file. But let's just try that again. .NET build should be a lot quicker this time. Nothing to restore. And hey, look, built, no errors. We'd be good to go and run this if we
magic.
I can't do .NET run. It will fail with a SQL.
The other hack you can do here, of course, is to connect it to a SQL Azure database, and then you're good to go.
Exactly. So that would just be through the regular connection string here. Very nice. Cool. So that wasn't too hard either. It's kind of surprising how easy these things can be. Cool. Well,
none of this looks familiar to anybody. Where's Visual Studio?
Yeah,
that's Windows.
The thing is, for me, Visual Studio is very, very heavyweight, and I often find like my MacBook gets incredibly hot when I'm running Visual Studio, and sometimes you don't need it if you're editing some Razor files. VS Code's pretty good. But the Visual Studio setup,
the C# extension that actually does autocomplete now in the VS Code, unlike on V8, I can do all of it now. So
that's really cool. Really cool. So yeah, VS Code for me is probably going to become my go-to IDE, which is nice and lightweight. Very nice. So it's clearly very exciting, Umbraco 9. Clearly, people are going to want to go try this out. We've hopefully shared some inspiration. People can go and do that themselves. But there's another exciting thing happening, which starts today. And I can't think of two better people to talk about it with. So, of course, it's the 1st of October. It's Hacktoberfest. Now, this week, Umbraco, you shared some plans for what's going to happen with Hacktoberfest this year.
Yes.
If I'm right? Yeah, I'm right. So, Seb, you wrote up a blog post kind of introducing Hacktoberfest, speaking about how you can contribute. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to make one reasonable pull request to the CMS docs or some eligible packages, and you will potentially win some swag.
Which will come as no surprise, but we only look at V9 contributions this year.
Yeah, because so V8 is not going to be. There's no new features coming to V8 in the future, right?
Oh, exactly. So the only exception there is if you want to change anything in the front end of the back office, the UI, then that's still also applicable to V8, and it merges straight up to V9. So we'll accept new stuff in Angular, let's say.
I guess until the new back office comes along, that makes sense.
Exactly. So none of the Angular bits have changed between V8 and V9, except for maybe some endpoints that are different. But other than that, everything is exactly the same. So we'll keep merging that up, and that counts for Hacktoberfest as well. Yeah.
So to take part in the kind of global Hacktoberfest, you need 4 accepted pull requests during October, which is one a month. It's not, sorry, one a week. It's not
a week, yeah.
Not super strenuous. And also, Emma, you and your CanCon team are going to help us with that a bit.
We hope so. Yeah, we're going to kick off a hackathon on the 29th of October that will go into the 30th. I've been speaking to people around the world to see if they're willing to support us too. We will take us into evening of Friday, and we'd really love participation globally. We're really conscious that, you know, we can be very Eurocentric, and we don't want that to be the case. So we've had some people in the States agree to take a shift, and I'm speaking with people in Australia too, so they can take us into morning. We are going to be looking at V9, but it's also a really good opportunity for people to be verifying documentation, so we can get that number up into near to 100 for coverage for V9. We've got so much documentation, actually. The team have done an amazing job. But yeah, just that last bit of time and documentation, pull requests, Seb, they totally count, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They just have to be significant. A spelling mistake, maybe not so much. 10 spelling mistakes, sure.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of people going and playing with Umbraco 9 in the coming weeks, and they'll find things that, I hit this problem, and that's a perfect excuse to contribute and get it documented and get some swag or plant some trees.
Part of the reason that we left the Hacktoberfest event until the end of the month, you know, other than how long it takes to prepare one of these, is that with the launch being so recent, it gives us a few weeks to really kind of get to grips with the sticking points. Like, it's a good time to write documentation. It's a great time to pick up any bugs and to look at, you know, things that we want changing. So, and I think Bjarke said something about a Microsoft release that was coming up as well. If you can pop that in the chat, Bjarke, because I forgot what you said. But towards the end of the month, there's some update coming up that people might want to have Umbraco working with. So I
think that's the .NET 6. Is that the .NET 6 release? So .NET 6 is currently in previews at the moment. And for the observant people, you'll have seen that the Umbraco source does have a target for .NET 6 still. So you can try and run it. I know Bjarke's tried against .NET 6 as well, and that seems to be all good. But test it. If there's something broken against it, let's try and get it patched. Because am I right in saying that V10, in 6 months' time, the next version of Umbraco will support .NET 6?
It will be not .NET 6, and it will be our LTS as well as Microsoft is .NET 6's LTS as well. So long-term support version will be V10 for us. Yep.
It sounds kind of scary changing the framework version again 6 months in, but we can definitely say that the upgrades between, say, .NET versions have been far simplified over the past few years, almost akin to like an Umbraco upgrade, where you just do a NuGet update and you're kind of good to go. So pretty much should all be working. Fingers crossed.
Yep, I think Bjarke is trying to use it full time, so he's there you go. Runs on .NET 6 RC1, so he's happy. So it seems like it's all working.
Very cool, very, very cool. And with that, of course, you also get C#10 and all the new syntactic features that come with that. And there's loads of awesome things there. Some improvements to Blazor if you're interested in doing stuff with Blazor, and also if you're not doing, well, I don't know, someone could probably install Umbraco in like a Xamarin app or something nowadays, because it's cross-platform. But yeah, there's some massive improvements to cross-platform UI stuff in .NET 6 as well. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, some final things, some just other quick bits that I thought I'd highlight from this week. Actually, this one's from last week.
Two more things about Hacktoberfest.
Oh,
again, we are encouraging people to contribute to packages, and there's a list in the blog post that is quite empty right now. So anybody who has a package or wants to develop a new package for Umbraco 9, please add to the list, and we'll reward those packages and package contributions as well. And the other thing I wanted to mention was we've been talking with Warren, who's currently hacking on a tag helper that we might need some more handy tag helpers for Umbraco 9, and we will announce when we have something to announce, but there will be a list of things that we want implemented in V9.
Is that the idea to have those in core or as packages?
Yeah.
Yeah, either core or package will that's a bit up for debate yet, but I think they could be super useful in a lot of different situations. So we would love to do that.
These are like the caching, because we've got cached partial, haven't we, in V8 and prior. And now that's all been replaced with these tag helper things. So
yeah. So one thing that Warren is currently working on is when you need to post to a service controller, you go begin Umbraco form. We're gonna make that easier, so you don't have to do all the plumbing. You just write UMB form or something like that.
Brilliant.
Done. Yep.
We also want to know what tag helpers people want. That's the other thing.
Yes.
I mean, in every one of our projects, we seemingly ship a extension method for responsive images. So you can go HTML.responsive image. So like a thing where you could just give it an image cropper and say, I want these crops out of it. Give me the responsive image. That would be fantastic.
Yep.
So yeah, there's definitely a few that the community can decide on, for sure. All right.
I can convince you that Discord is actually pretty cool.
Yeah. Let's see.
Next subject, Callum.
We're still out on that one. Alrighty, so I had 3 final things. Like I said, we've got a ton of releases from this week. They're all linked down below. Go check those out. Go give those people a big high five. You rock, because there's a lot of work that's gone into those. But a couple of other news things. The Code Garden team together at Umbraco HQ and planning Code Garden 2022. This was last Friday, which is very exciting. So that's happening. I'm sure we'll get some announcements at some point in the coming months. A great blog post this week from Dennis Adolfi. He compared basically what's changed between the Umbraco 9 versions up to kind of present day, and anything.
He was still on beta 3, and he decided to upgrade just before the live launch, and found a few breaking changes that we made. And I have good news for him, because from RC4 to final, he'll be seeing none of those breaking changes anymore. So.
Very good, cool. And finally, Jesper started a great blog series. We love Jesper's blogs on umbraCoffee, but he started a great one here about creating a Umbraco 9 project with .NET templates. And .NET templates are this thing that we've not really explored probably in .NET framework land, but now we've got a lot more power, and we can kind of create, we can bootstrap a project pretty quickly with a few commands, which is really cool. And Jesper's writing all about that. So go check that out. The link will be down below as well. Cool. And that was it. What a busy week.
Exciting week, yeah.
Indeed.
And it's been fun. That's the brilliant thing about it.
It's good. No tears at HQ. No late night.
Yes, only.
That's good.
They did
No.
some licorice. That nearly made me cry.
Yeah.
We've also been. It's been surprisingly relaxed leading up to the release on Tuesday this week. Everything was just ready, just in air quotes. So yeah, it's been really good process, and we hope to repeat this
Awesome.
more.
Awesome. Well, again, a massive high five you up to HQ and the community for everything that's gone into that, because big effort, 2.5 years of work, but you know, you got there.
Yep.
Very cool. So yeah, Hacktoberfest starts today. Go sign up. Hacktoberfest.digitalocean.com, I think it is. And you can enter the challenge, do 4 pull requests. I'm going to be doing a weekly live stream on a Wednesday lunchtime where I'm going to try and tackle some issues. The first one I'm going to do is a really one that's been bugging me for so long. You know, when you type a property name like SEO title and you have capital SEO title, the lowercaser does a lowercase s and then a capital E and an O and a capital T. So the casing is horrible. So I'm going to correct it. So for any consecutive capitals, it will keep the same case as what it had before. So that's going to be my first one on Wednesday when I tackle that.
Where are you streaming that, Callum?
That'll be on Twitch, and it's just twitch.tv/CallumWhite, and you'll find the link on Twitter. I'm sure I'll post it everywhere. Cool.
Before you go, we've had a bit of live coding in the Discord. It's really very good for that sort of thing, Callum. But I mean, if you don't have a Twitch channel, but yeah, we've had a bit of live coding in there. If anybody wants to enter your requests live and start, really, you've got a little crowd already waiting. So
that's very cool. So anyone that is on Discord, you can go and do that there. And anyone that isn't, join me and we'll do live coding. As always, make sure you've liked and you've subscribed and share this. We set out last week, we're 5 episodes now away from 200, and it would be amazing to hit 700 subs by then. So we need 5 subs a week, basically, between now and then. 25 subs away. Make sure you subscribe. Share it with your colleagues. Tell them to subscribe. Create accounts for your
mum and dad,
cats and your dogs, that sort of thing. Just please help us get there. But thank you for watching, and Marcin will be back next week, and we'll see you then. Have a great weekend and enjoy.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.